everybody, welcome back to Wrench with Grandpa. Thanks for stopping by. If you're not subscribed, please consider it. Thumbs up, likes, comments. I appreciate all of your interaction with me, and I apologize and hope you'll forgive me for the lack of content over the past long minute. Like I said before, if it's not content worthy, I'm not going to put it out because recently I just haven't had anything going on that was really of value. But today we're going to try to make up for that a little bit. So let's see what we could do. As you can see, it's definitely a buffet time. So we got the herd coming in for the Golden Corral Wyckoff Preserve. I want to start off with, I saw something on YouTube yesterday concerning headlight restoration. And it's been an ongoing battle for me with my two daily drivers because I have done the sanding and refinishing clear coat methods, extremely time consuming and less than, okay, it'll work, but it didn't really turn out the way that you would expect considering what YouTube video gave you the expectation of. And I will also caveat that statement with the fact that most of these guys are using power little 2-inch disc grinders and all this fancy stuff. Me, this is mostly my power tools, blah blah blah. But this guy said, hey, use this. Now, I've used this product extensively on the restoration of my mag wheels, and it's a great product. Always try to keep a fresh jar on hand. And they're not perfect, but that one I'm still working on. That one had some old, totally destroyed clear coat on it, and it's taken about 85% of it off. Still got to go over it again. The Tacoma, you couldn't even see inside the lenses. I mean, they were just totally frosted. Now, they've still got a little more work to do, but you could actually get some light out on the road instead of just reflecting back on itself. So that's an ongoing project, but I gotta say, took a lot less time, a lot more successful in the time frame spent. And the nice thing with the mothers, it literally cuts all of the old clear coat and crap off there, as well as help get some of the fine cracking and scratches out of the lens as well. So I'm pleased with that. So my wingman Jerry came by yesterday and we had some time together, and he helped me work on figuring out what the heck was going on with this front suspension. And we also talked about some other things like Hemi-Tick, gasoline versus diesel, and we hope to put together a vlog and get into more detail about some of that because it was a real good conversation. Should have had the camera running then because it's very impromptu but very informative. So we'll see if we can't recreate that information for you in the near future. So, other than hooking up the brake line to the slave cylinder and putting the tire back on it, this side is done. Hallelujah. Now, the big problem that I ran into recently with this thing and trying to figure out what was going wrong was that I was trying to replace the pitman arm with a new one, because as I started tearing this thing apart ages ago, back when dinosaurs were still roaming, I felt like, you know, I had so many of the tie rod ends and other ball joints that were just totally trashed. Well, if you're gonna replace parts, let's do them all. So I went out and spent about $100 and got this really heavy duty new pitman arms put on it. Looks real good, heavy duty, my God. Problem was, like so many of the other parts that I bought online that said, oh, they're the perfect replacement. It didn't work. The angle on the attachment point was in the wrong angle, and the thickness of the shaft was too thick, causing it to run into the frame rail. So, after a lot of discussion and laying on our backs under here, we ended up putting the original pitman arm back on. It was okay. I mean, it's still functional. It's in fairly good shape. Put a new boot on it, a grease zerk, and Wingman Jerry, Tomcat Automotive, said we're good to go. So that's done. I just got to finish getting the front brake line hooked up to this. Got to go ahead and get cotter pins in, get everything torqued down as far as the pivot arm and the tie rod sleeve. So that will be done. So what I have started doing is moving over to the other side, because we got to get that done before we can put tires on it and get her out of the garage. So we have started the restoration on the right side, backing plate, spindle, got the new slave cylinder and all the new parts to put on her, to put her back together. Of course, we've already done the rehab on the control arm, and today, well, you can't see it, but I am in the process of reinstalling the torsion bar. It's about halfway done. I got to put the rubber boot back on and get her back up in there. So we're getting a lot closer. Hopefully by this time next week, barring any complications like, I don't know, having to work, getting hurt, just, you know, having to deal with the wife and the chore list. Hopefully, maybe by next weekend, we can drop this thing off the jack stands and actually roll it outside under its own power. I would be so grateful, because the sooner we can get this sucker back on the road, the sooner we get it out to Jerry's and get the new exhaust system put on her and do a transmission service on her. Then we bring her back here and maybe start considering that 4-barrel intake setup. So we'll see what happens. But that's kind of where I've been, for what little bit of time I've had, an inclination and, you know, all that stuff. But the point of part of what I wanted to say to you guys tonight was these restoration projects, even the fact that I was able to pick this car up in hugely better condition than what most guys I see doing resto projects initially get their project car in. This thing had a lot of hidden issues. And that's the thing about restoring 50-year-old cars. They may look pretty outside, they got plenty of lipstick on the pig, but when you start getting into the important stuff like brakes, steering, differentials, transmissions, engines, all of that, you can get very overwhelming. And a couple of things that I continue to have to reteach myself with regard to that is, don't buy parts online, if you can catch them locally. I deal with O'Reilly's. They have been the best part stores, and I've used them all for part acquisition. Good prices, My local store's got a great, knowledgeable staff. And if the part isn't right, I can take it back and get my money back or get it exchanged for something that does work. And with these cars, I'm finding out that there's a lot of parts out there that says, oh yeah, they're just what you need. And then you get them home and you find out, no, they're not. So that beats the heck out of going through that whole process with inline, parts companies where you got to box it up, send a request in for return, and go through that whole red tape BS. And then you get hit with a, restocking charge as well. So my lesson learned is don't buy the part until you actually need it, because that's part of what I was doing. I was buying parts for the future and putting them on the shelf. And then when I got around to needing to use them, finding out that they were the wrong part. And when I bought them online, I had typically missed the deadline for returns. So don't do that, okay? Let me be the guy that gives you that little life lesson in advance if you're doing this kind of stuff. And the other thing would be when you do get a part, whether it's from your local store or online shipping, as soon as you get it, verify it. Check it with the old part that you're looking to replace. Make sure that it's an exact part, that the angles on things or the plugs and whatever it might be are the same. We're dealing with a lot of stuff in the restoration rebuild market, as most of you probably know. A lot of the parts we buy, even from local sources sometimes, are parts that are obviously, like 70-80% of all the parts are from overseas. And they're usually, or a fair amount of them, are of lower quality in the materials and design. And so they may look nice and they might fit, but will they work and will they be reliable? That's a question with anything that you buy today, unfortunately, whether it be home electronics, appliances, cars. Oh, don't even get me into that. New cars, terribly overpriced, all the crap that are on them, none of it works, or it doesn't work long, and you're paying outrageous amounts of money for a car, and the interest rates on the car loans. And so you've got, I don't know, $40,000 to $100,000 drop in the car that in 4 years is ready for the scrap pile. It's not what America was all about in the auto industry in the time I was growing up. But it is what it is. So be careful out there if you're buying new and used. Always verify, check it out. Make sure that the vehicle that you're looking at is really worth what you're having to spend on it. If it's a used car, get an independent mechanic to give you an evaluation. Typically, mechanics will charge $100 to $200 to do a complete evaluation, look the vehicle over, and make sure that you're not buying a dud. Guys, hope you have a wonderful upcoming week. Labor Day weekend's like next weekend, so if you've got plans, be careful, be safe, have a wonderful time. God's blessing to you all, and hopefully we'll see you again real soon when we're pretty much almost done with this, so we can move on to some of the other wonderful things that have got to be done. Thank you all. Godspeed. Please consider subscribing. Thumbs up if you like what I'm trying to do here. And comments are always welcome. And if you'd like to donate to the Wyckoff Deer Preserve so that I can keep feeding these critters, let me know. Bye-bye.